Hello, welcome to Harris Football. I'm Dave Hewitt, and I'm joined by Christopher Harris. Chris, how's it going?
It's going yacht possumy. I mean, how bad could it be? You got a shirt like this. How bad could things be?
My impulse is to ask, do you get questions when you wear it? And then I realized we don't go anywhere. It doesn't come up.
Well, I wore it on the CBS telethon, and I think it added to the hating of me or something. I don't know.
Well, we love you. And we had 10 fans of the show get on and do a mock draft with us because it's our Fantrax Friday mock draft. Last one of the season because it's the big draft weekend or the final draft weekend.
That's right. And it's just you and me. All these other mock drafts have been with someone else, and it's the Friday before Labor Day. We didn't want to bother any of our friends. You and I are going to recap this mock draft ourselves, by golly.
So hopefully by now everyone's used to this. If you've seen the others, if you haven't been watching the channel, welcome. Watch the many videos we've created. But we'll put up the big board as we talk. But I also know, especially on the phones, it might be a little small. I will tweet out the link. It will be in the description so you can find a photo of it to go along with this. And without further ado, let's talk about the draft. I got the first overall pick. I don't think any shock. It was a half PPR league. We should say that at the start. So I took Christian McCaffrey. I don't think there's any big shocker. A lot of running backs went. Chris, you were at pick 7. You did Devontae Adams. And if I skip right ahead, you ended up doing DK when it came back around. So you went wide receiver, because you always say 0 RB, right? That's the plan?
Well, and I didn't wind up really going 0 RB for people who are able to expand the draft board. I wound up taking running backs pretty much right away. But I think a pretty consistent theme of these mock drafts all the way we through, hopefully a message people are getting, is that just don't be wedded to anything. Be ready to react. And in this case, let's face it, another theme of all these things is that we're drafting with a lot of people who listen to my podcast and watch our channel, and a lot of people who understand how the way we think, and whether they believe it themselves or are maybe taking players that they know we want because then they can get the guys they want later. Like, it's hard to know. But when you see 6 running backs go and a half point per reception, I look at my running back. My next running back could be someone like Zeke Elliott, maybe, could be. But I think I have Devontae Adams a little higher. And so I'm just going to kind of roll with it. This one worked out, I think we'll talk about it in a minute, worked out better than usually for me. I felt like the running backs I got were kind of right at the tail end of what I was hoping I'd get. And so it felt good. So that first pick turned out to be Adams. And then what did we say? I think 12 out of the first 17 picks wound up being running backs. So when it comes back to me, now we're at RB13 on my list, or I can get one of the top 5 receivers. So I throughout the whole process, all the videos we've done, I've kind of said I got 5 receivers and they're head and shoulders above the others. And I'm really thinking about them in the second round if things break wrong for me running back wise. And in this case, 4 of them were gone, but DK Metcalf was there, and I could have gone Mixon, and I could have gone, several of the RB2 type running backs, the high RB2s, but I just kind of trusted the board, and I trusted my own ranks, and felt like Adams and Metcalf is a great way to start, and therefore I had a lot of green on my board. Now, you in the second and third round, since you're picking at the turn, I was interested, but not astonished that you took George Kittle with your 3rd pick. So that's the 25th pick overall. He's going to go in the 3rd round most of the time in a league like this. So I don't think, you only have 1 pick in the 3rd round, Dave. But I wonder just how you felt that went because you took the second tight end taken.
I think it turned out okay now. I could step back and look at my whole team. But during the draft, I wasn't feeling great about it, honestly. Like, I was happy about the pick and getting Kittle. So I took Terry McLaurin. I took Kittle. I felt like I'd spread out. I had a pretty good balanced team. But I knew that I was going to be playing a little catch up. And I think paired with being at the turn made it harder for me because I was really having to say, boy, 24 picks later, who's going to, I know Josh Jacobs is going to be gone, but Henderson's not coming back to me either.
Right. So which position would you say if people are thinking Kittle in the 3rd or, Waller in the 3rd, Waller winds up going in the 3rd also, which position gave you the stress farts? Like between running back and wide receiver, was it the idea, oh boy, I'm passing on running back here, that could bite me?
Yeah, it was, even before I took Kittle, it was, if I don't grab a running back here at the turn, I'm not going to love the options. And then as I made the pick, had to make the decision, be disciplined. Don't chase people you hate when it comes back just to do it. Like, get your guys.
Oh, so when it comes back 4-5.
Yes, when it comes back around, don't be like in a panic. And like, I kind of had to tell myself that. But you didn't have to panic as much at running back because you were talking about it.
Yeah.
You were able to get Swift when it came back to you.
Yeah, and in a standard league, I might have been more apt to take Chris Carson, and I Chris Carson is not bad in a half PPR either. I have him close. I kind of thought about which one, and wound up taking Swift here. Felt like if I got Swift or Carson as the weight on running back, obviously I don't really have an RB1. That's the price of getting 2 wide receiver ones. But of the RB2s, Swift and Carson would be the 2 for me that I go, yeah, that's worth it. That worked. And it was really, so that one doesn't surprise me that much. And none of it really surprises me. It's not meant to be a criticism of the people who are drafting with us. But the coming back the other way, I was like, okay, let's get Miles Sanders. Nope, gone. Oh, okay. If James Robinson were last here, that would be great. Nope, gone. But Darrell Henderson was there. And he's really it for me. The bottom falls out. I don't want any really part of Myles Gaskin at that price. And now you're down to Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt, which are, I think, where they got taken. I like both of those players. I have them on a bunch of teams, but not if I go, no RBs in the first 2 rounds. And I kind of feel a little bit of pressure to take the running back in the 4th round. And I got to tell you, if Henderson had been gone as well, I probably would have done a different position. I don't think I would have gone running back.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to come as a real shock since we talk all the time and talk about these rankings. I feel the same way. And that's where it led into my picks of Deontay Johnson. Flag players were available. And like you said, Mike Davis and Hunt were there. And I was looking at Mostert maybe. But at the 4-5 at the turnaround, I wasn't pumped about getting them there. I like where they ended up going at the end of 5 when it gets back there. But there were wide receivers I actually liked. And I felt like, don't settle, like grab the guys you're excited about. You and I were kind of talking before we hit record. If you can hit those first 5 picks and feel good about the players that are on your team, then you're really kind of building around that, right?
Yeah. Like to the extent, what do you want? What demands do you have of your draft viewer? Do you really need the 9th round pick to be somebody that you're enraptured with? I think to some degree, we overrate the importance of the draft. It's really important. It's the most important player acquisition tool in fantasy. No question about it. It sets the tone. But championships are won through the waiver wire and through trades and stumbling ass backwards into James Robinson or finding Jalen Hurts right at the moment when he goes crazy during a fantasy playoff run. So I just think positional strategy matters, but not that much. Get players you think are going to be really good in those first several rounds. And we're going to talk more about other rounds. Is it okay if I take a break to thank Fantrax right here? All right. So Fantrax has sponsored these mock drafts. I know we've had a core group of people who've really liked watching our analysis, and we've had a whole bunch of people who view the channel and follow the podcast and follow me on social media who've participated, and that's been awesome. Fantrax is just a good place to play fantasy. It's always free. They have a couple of promotions going on. We've talked to you about the game day promotion where however many leagues you're in, that's your number of lottery tickets to maybe get sent to an NFL game. But I think we haven't talked on the channel for a little while yet about the best ball contest they're putting on for us. And Dave will put a link in the show notes to go join our best ball challenge. It's free. You pick the team once, set it and forget it. We're all in a giant group together. In fact, I think it's going to be 2 groups of like 600 people, the big old groups. But the great part is that Fantrax is putting up money. There's money to be won if you win these leagues or finish high in these leagues, and come play against me, come play against Dave and a lot of other viewers. If you don't have a Fantrax account, go to fantrax.com/Harris because that lets them know, gives me a little bit of credit, gives the channel a little bit of credit. But then we'd love to have you in this contest absolutely free, as is all Fantrax, and you'll play in the best ball and hopefully win a little bit of dough.
Yep. So totally free. I'm already in there. So the link's below to get an account and the link's there to join a best ball. It's free and you can win money. You can't beat that.
Okay, so let me ask you now. We talked about your first 5, and it wound up being 3 receivers, a running back, and a tight end. And there are going to be people out there who stick to their boards and do something similar in a world where, by gosh, fantasy experts are constantly saying running back is what matters. And here you are, 60 players in, you've got one running back. And you got to wait for it to come all the way back around to you. And you did go running back in, 6 and 7. And it's Melvin Gordon and it's Raheem Mostert. And you don't love it, of course. You made compromises. Right. But, like, I feel like it's certainly you wind up with a workable solution. You're going to find somebody to play in that duo.
Yeah, for sure. Like, neither is a guy I target, but I'm letting the draft come to me. And, maybe Gordon's a little overlooked. And I've been on Trey in many of my drafts, in these mock drafts. And I was like,
right.
Yeah, I'm going to take
Trey Sermon.
Yeah, Trey Sermon. So I'm going to take Mostert here. Right. He looks to be the starter right now, especially if I'm going weaker. You've talked about you can win leagues later in the season by picking people up. I didn't want to take, for this specific build, someone who might be behind and worked in later. Like, I needed someone to play running back too for me, and I just wanted to get those options. So I was just working with what I had.
I hear you. So my 5th round pick, it's a sharp group. There wasn't a lot of like, aha. It's funny. I don't know if you noticed, Dave, because we were we're recording this right after we did this draft. And many people in the chat who were kind enough to join us were saying, well, this is a lot harder than my league. This is the toughest draft I've done so far. This has been rough, And I feel that way every time we do it because we all kind of share a brain to some degree. We're all kind of evaluating players together in a Borg. And so when I got to round 5, I just didn't have the typical like, ooh, cool. Chase Edmonds fell. Oh, nice. Jerry Jeudy's there. Actually, those guys did fall. Tyler Lockett, I get in the 5th all the time. Mm-hmm. Not in this draft. You took Ayuk. Get him all the time in the 5th. He's gone. So I was like, all right, well, quarterback's the highest left on my board. And to be honest, I was doing something else and didn't realize Aaron Rodgers was not taken.
No.
So probably I was doing several things at once, trying to prepare for the season. And I have to say, though, in retrospect, it's not terrible to have taken Russell Wilson, only because DK Metcalf was my 2nd round pick, and so I'm kind of living with the stack there. It probably, if I had to do it over again, and if I, at least I was joking, I didn't take Russell Wilson, the flower delivery guy, which, the first couple of drafts, I kept taking the wrong, like, I can't believe Mike Davis is still there. Dude, that's the Mike Davis that played corner in 1983. But so, like, I got an actual football player with Russell Wilson, and I don't hate it stack wise, but yes, indeed, it was also kind of a mess up.
Yeah, the person picking after you was like, "Hey, Rodgers fell to me. Great."
Absolutely. Okay, so we're getting into the second half of the draft, and I looked at Darnell Mooney going, and we did a video that accentuated Darnell Mooney's upside, potential member of the Antonio Brown phylum. Mooney's going to go in the top half of most drafts. I liked that you took Joe Burrow in the 10th round. You and one other team, you and maybe the 3rd picker or the 2nd picker, I can't remember, were waiting on quarterback the longest, which is great strategy. And there you were, Joe Burrow, and gee, why is that?
Did we put out a video about it? We just talked about it, but Mooney was the same thing. I was like, boy, we just did a video talking about these guys. Yeah, it was T. Dewson, and we both were waiting in a quiet standoff of, we're both waiting on quarterbacks, but you don't want to get no one. Like, what's it going to be? So your fearless prediction, I went, all right, Burrow's my guy. I'm going for it here.
I mean, the fearless prediction is, it's just basically like, stay the course. I think the fearless prediction wound up being stay the course on Burrow. I mean, you'll link to the video.
Yes.
And the fearless prediction on Kenny Golladay was also stay the course. Like, I don't see enough evidence here that there's actual problems. I can't say they're totally invented, and we're supposed to pay attention to the negative stuff in training camp. But it seems like if people are going to bash Joe Burrow as, a totally wait on quarterback and go 10th round on Joe Burrow, no. That's where he's a good pick. That's why we're not taking him in the 7th round, right? The downside's already baked in. So let's assume some upside. And I mentioned Golladay for the same reason, because I took Golladay in the 6th round, and that's higher than he's going sometimes, but not with this group. But like 6th, 7th round, if he didn't have the injury questions, he'd be 3rd, 4th round probably. We said this in that other video. Like, he's the wide receiver 3 from 2 years ago, and so his negativity, his bad hamstring, his potential hip recurrence or whatever, that's baked into him going in the 6th or 7th round. And I really think that's something worth accentuating as people go into these last few days of drafting. There's scary news on Mike Davis because Wayne Gallman signed in Atlanta. There's scary news on anyone who's like got a little nick, or is he going to play week 1, or is Carson Wentz going to play, and therefore is maybe Jonathan Taylor. Like, it feels like the bad news is baked into the price, and there's no reason to punish the players more on your draft board. Where they are is already got the bad news baked in, the risk baked in. But these are good players who have way bigger ceilings, and that's the kind of guy that at the right price I think we should be chasing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in the later half of the draft, it's okay to miss a little too. Like, Galladay was in the later half of the draft, but when you wait on quarterback and stuff, you get someone you're comfortable with, you don't have to stress it, because that's where you can, this isn't working out, now I stream. And that's where you play in the season, and it makes a difference.
And how many of these drafts have I kind of upended my board at the very end and taken Justin Fields? It seems like everyone, right? I love taking Justin Fields in the 13th round. I think a lot of times in the wild that doesn't happen, or at least a lot of times in these wise guy drafts that I do, it doesn't usually happen. The Fields and Lance don't last that long. But if you can get them at that cheap of a discount when you've already got a bench player at each position, and now you're really firing darts, and you've already got a quarterback, fire a dart at one of the mobile guys, because they could be league winners in week 4. And don't stress about the fact that the Fields drafter, the Trey Lance drafter in this draft had Patrick Mahomes. Like, don't stress about that. That's fine. It's okay. We don't normally advocate taking 2 quarterbacks as though you're going to play matchups or have one available for his bye week. But if you're taking Fields or Lance, you're taking them because they could be league winners, and you could trade the other guy, or you can trade them. It's mandatory. No matter where you have them ranked, no matter where I have them ranked, Fields and Lance need to go in all drafts.
Yeah, and it's a perfect pair for what you just said, because there's no headache there. My Burrow, Matt Ryan, maybe you got to stress a little about which guy am I playing this week. Right. You're playing Mahomes, and it's a wait and see, and that's great.
Sure, and I'm playing Wilson and I have Fields. It's much more about there was a moment in the draft when Lance went, and someone said, "Oh no, it wasn't Mahomes." I'm reading the draft board wrong. The Lance team didn't take Mahomes. It was Trevor Lawrence that went to the Mahomes team. But it's the same theory, right? It's I'm gathering an asset, and the reason I thought of it is because this is round 13 when I took Traquan Smith, and then the second team took Trevor Lawrence, and someone in the chat room said, "Man, did you just take a third quarterback?" And my thing isn't that he took a third quarterback. He just took a potentially huge upside trade chip, and he'll just stash him away and wait and see. And then if Trevor Lawrence winds up really making the Jags a lot better than we think, which we don't know, we'll see, then you're dealing from a position of strength.
And with that wraps up our final mock draft of the season. Thank you all for watching. Good luck drafting this weekend. I'm sure if you're still here, you've got lots of drafts going on this weekend. I know I do too. Please like, subscribe, leave comments about how the draft turned out. See you guys.
Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button. Write a comment. Tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on. And of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button, and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.